American Top 40.
Every week, American Top 40 is heard in the 50 states and around the world on great radio stations like B98, KPBZ, Kalispell, Montana, K100, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and commercial radio, Hong Kong. Here's the 24-year-old singer, born and raised in Detroit, lives in New York City now, bills herself by her first name only, Madonna. She climbs 8 notches to number 16 with Lucky Star.
American Top 40. Top 40.
At number 36 is the hit song Holiday by the singer and dancer who calls herself Madonna. And she got her recording contract with the help of a disco DJ. Now, radio DJs have discovered dozens and dozens of recording artists, but discoveries by disco DJs are a little rarer. And here's how it happened for Madonna. About 2 years ago, she was a regular patron at one of New York City's most popular dance clubs, Danceteria. And the club's DJ, Mark Kamens, began to notice her dancing. They got to talking, and Madonna told Mark she was a singer, too. Well, he'd heard that wishful line before. He said, "Make a demo tape." She did. And one night before the disco opened, DJ Mark Kamens played that tape on the club's sound system. And he was so knocked out by Madonna's voice that he took her and her tape around to several of the record company people he knew in New York. And that ultimately led to Madonna's current contract with Sire Records, a recording artist discovered by New York disco DJ Mark Kamens. Madonna's first top 40 hit, a recent number 1 smash on the dance and disco chart, peaked at number 16 here on the pop chart. It's at number 36 this week. Holiday by Madonna. Madonna singing Holiday, biggest dropper in the countdown this week from 22 down to 36. 35 big ones to number 1, and we're counting them down.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
I'm Casey Kasem. Here's a singer named Madonna who tells about her upbringing. She says, "I studied piano for a year, but I quit and convinced my father to let me take ballet lessons instead. When I got older, I learned jazz and tap and modern dance." End of quote. After a brief career as a professional dancer, Madonna started singing. A whole new career. Her third top 40 hit is at number 13 this week. Lucky Star. She wrote it and she sang it. Madonna at number 13, moving up 3 notches on American Top 40 with Lucky Star.
The hits from coast to coast.
Now on American Top 40, the story of the number 1 song that put the woman who sings it in an eyeball confrontation with the king of the beasts. I'm talking about Madonna, whose number 1 song, Like a Virgin, is the biggest number 1 by a woman in 3 years. It just spent 6 weeks at the top position. A few months ago, Madonna was filming her video for the monster hit song. The script called for a scene where Madonna is leaning against a pillar and a trained lion walks by. Only the lion wouldn't do what he was supposed to do. Madonna told writer David Keeps, "I kept waiting for the lion to come up on my right side, trying to pretend I was relaxed and not nervous. Then all of a sudden I felt this nudge against my left side. I looked down and the lion was right there. I thought he was going to take a bite out of me. We glared at each other for about 3/4 of a minute. Then he opened his mouth and let out this huge roar. My heart fell into my shoe." Luckily for Madonna, after having his say, the lion just walked away and the director yelled, "Cut!" And some of that film was used in the video. Looking back on it now, Madonna says she was scared, but it was fun. "I could really relate to the lion," she says. "I feel like in a past life I was a lion or cat or something." End of quote. By the way, Madonna's astrological sign? She's a Leo. Her recent number 1 smash is at number 7 this week on American Top 40, Like a Virgin. Madonna tumbles from the number 1 spot down to number 7 with her smash, Like a Virgin. It's the biggest drop for a number 1 song since 1982, when Don't You Want Me by the Human League dropped from number 1 to number 7. And the countdown continues.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Now, once again, the story of a woman who was handed a Cinderella life and walked out on her fairy godmothers. She once got an offer she couldn't refuse. This is the story of a singer and dancer originally from Detroit. When she was 17, she left Detroit and went to New York City, hoping to make it as a professional dancer. It was tough there, and she lived a hand-to-mouth existence, working odd jobs while pursuing a career. She auditioned for and won a scholarship with the prestigious Alvin Ailey Dance Troupe. Things were finally beginning to happen. Then this young woman auditioned as a backup singer and dancer for a big French disco star. Following the audition, the managers came over to her and said, "We'd like to make you a star. Forget touring as a backup singer and dancer." She told writer Michael Kozakowski, "They took me to Paris and gave me everything. A vocal coach, a dance teacher, an apartment, and a chauffeur. Before meeting them, I'd been eating out of garbage cans, so to speak. Living in Paris was like a French movie." But there was trouble in paradise. She says, "They kept telling me I was going to be the next Edith Piaf and dragged me around to show their friends what they'd found in the gutters of New York. I felt miserable. I'd gotten used to working hard in New York and feeling my progress. After 6 months, I told them I was going home to visit. I left everything I had there and never returned." Back in New York, the still aspiring entertainer quit dancing and devoted herself to music. Eventually, breaks began to come her way. She got a recording contract and her records began to sell. And today, more than 7 years after leaving Detroit, she has become a star, and she did it her way. Her album, Like a Virgin, is the #1 album in the land this week. And her second smash from that album is at number 24 on American Top 40. Here's Material Girl by Madonna. Material Girl, Madonna on American Top 40 from the #1 LP in the USA, Like a Virgin. That's the second big hit. It debuted last week at 34. This week, the biggest mover in the countdown, up 10 notches to number 24. Material Girl, as the countdown rolls on.
Hits from coast to coast to coast.
At number 12 is a song by a woman who had star quality and good business sense by the time she was 5 years old. That's when she started imitating Shirley Temple from films she saw on television. Then she started giving dance lessons to her friends. That imitative entrepreneur? Madonna. This week, Madonna has the biggest mover within the countdown, leaping 12 notches to number 12. Papa Don't Preach. Madonna on American Top 40 with Papa Don't Preach. She co-wrote it and co-produced it. Her 10th Top 40 hit. Third week in the survey, it's already up to number 12.
AT40 with Casey Kasem.
A countdown of the most popular songs in the USA. Well, now we're up to a superstar who spent the past 5 years collecting an impressive set of hits. And that's not all she collects. Arts and Antiques magazine recently named her one of the 100 top art collectors in America. It seems that Madonna, the original Material Girl, doesn't spend all of her royalty checks on clothing and hair color. She's also been investing heavily in what the magazine called a top-notch collection of vintage photographs, many of them turn-of-the-century studies of women and of boxers. Madonna has collected dozens of these images, which can cost thousands of dollars each. She also collects the paintings of famous Mexican artist Frida Kahlo, wife of legendary muralist Diego Rivera. And Madonna says her love of Frida Kahlo's art comes partly from the works themselves and partly from the woman's life. She says, quote, "Her whole life was suffering. She was crippled, and she married an insane man. I'm attracted to people who manage to create something out of that kind of life." Unquote. Now, here's Madonna with her latest in her collection of gold and platinum. Dropping 6 notches to number 16. Here's the former #1 song, Like a Prayer. Madonna dropping 6 notches to 16 with the title cut of her 5th album, Like a Prayer. We've got 15 big ones to go on our way to number 1 as the countdown rolls on.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
I'm Shadoe Stevens, and each week on American Top 40, we count down the hits in Hollywood and turn up on great radio stations around the world. You've got the pulse of pop, American Top 40 with the Shadow. Now look at the roots of a platinum superstar. Back in 1984, she revealed all to English writer Neil Tennant, the same Neil Tennant who's now a member of the Pet Shop Boys. Now, this world-famous singer grew up in Pontiac, Michigan. She can remember doing the limbo in the house, scooting right under a broom handle to her parents' chubby checker records. And she says, "I listened to Johnny Mathis and Harry Belafonte and Sam Cooke. Those were my father's records. When I was older, I got into pop music. Not the Beatles, but things like The Letter by the Box Tops and Sugar Sugar by the Archies. I love that record. And then Madonna discovered Motown and soul. She says, all my girlfriends were black. I lived in a real integrated neighborhood. We were one of the only white families, actually. And all my girlfriends had Motown and black records. And they had yard dances in their backyards with their little 45 turntable. And they'd have a stack of records and everybody would be dancing in the driveway and the backyard. And that was the music that first made Madonna move. Today, she inspires the driveway dances and backyard bashes, taking her danceable dance mix pop and soul up the Billboard chart again and again. Her latest hit is a ballad, number 21 this week on American Top 40. Here's Oh Father. Madonna and Oh Father continue to move up the chart from number 27 to number 21. She's one of 7 solo women in this week's countdown. I'm Shadoe Stevens, and we're entering top 20 territory in our tinsel-trimmed jaunt to the top of the Billboard Christmas tree. We'll unwrap more of this week's merry musical gifts as American Top 40 continues in a moment.
You're listening to Shadow on American Top 40.
The hits from coast to coast. Casey's Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. These are the most popular songs in the USA. Well, now we're up to the latest smash for one of the richest women in show business, a singer and dancer from Michigan who still makes her own bed and does her own laundry. Since she first charted back in 1983 with a song called Holiday, this woman has blazed her way into the record books, churning out an incredible string of 22 top 40 hits that have made her the top female performer of the past 10 years. And those hits have paid off in her bank book every bit as well as they've paid off on the charts. In fact, according to Forbes magazine, she earns almost $30 million a year. That's an average of over $80,000 every single day, making her one of the richest entertainers in the world. You'd think with that sort of money passing through her bank accounts, Madonna Louise Ciccone would be living the life of leisure, surrounded by servants who cater to her every need. Well, think again. Madonna says she grew up in a poor but proud family. In the Ciccone household, doing the daily chores was very important. Everyone in her family was expected to carry his or her own weight. And that's why Madonna says that to this day, she still does a lot of chores other superstars might have long since given up. She says that every morning she makes her own bed. Except when she's on the road, she does her own laundry. And she tries to do her own shopping as well. Though unless she wears a disguise, she's usually mobbed by fans. And Madonna loves to cook. Whenever she has the time, she says she puts together a big bowl of spaghetti for her friends. Why does big-time star Madonna still do all these everyday domestic things? She says, quote, "It helps me keep my feet on the ground. Doing household stuff keeps me real. I don't ever want to lose touch with the real person I still am." Well, this week, the star who keeps her feet on the ground keeps reaching for the top of the charts, climbing 5 notches to number 16. Here's Madonna with Keep It Together.
Keep it together.
Madonna's had 17 top 10 hits in the past 6 years, and this week she moves 5 notches closer to her 18th. At number 16, Keep It Together.
Casey's Top 40. Casey's Countdown.
I'm Casey Kasem, counting down the cream of the crop, the biggest hits of 1996. 96 was a big year for a superstar who spent the first months of the year in Argentina filming Evita, and the second half of the year preparing for the birth of her first child. She also scored her 16th gold single with the song that comes in at number 17 for the year, You'll See, by Madonna.
You think that I can live.
Easing in at number 17 in our countdown of the hottest hits of 1996. That's You'll See by Madonna. I'm Casey Kasem.
Casey